Good day, my audience. You are welcome to this new edition and this new channel. In this new channel, we shall be discussing issues and what we want to talk about in this channel is a topic violence. The word violent, we're going to narrow it down to domestic violence. We're going to look holistically on domestic violence. But we want to pick a sub-topic from that bigger one, from domestic violence. We want to pick what causes of domestic violence. Now, but before we go there, we need to know what is domestic violence. Domestic violence is a calculated pattern of behavior to instill or to prevent domestic superiority and surveillance over your partner in a relationship. Yes, I said domestic violence is a calculated pattern of behavior. It's a calculated pattern of behavior to instill or to prevent superiority and surveillance over your partner in a relationship. So let us digest this very well. When we say domestic violence is a calculated pattern of behavior to instill or prevent domestic superiority and surveillance over your partner in a relationship, it means it's an art of claiming superiority, who is who in a relationship. And in the process of claiming right or who is who over the other, there arise issues, and these issues develop and graduate to violence. And that is why we are to look at this issue properly. That's why we take it, because domestic violence comes gradually and grows and spreads and becomes a very heavy taproot in the family setting, and is capable of destroying the whole family. So today we shall be looking at the causes of domestic violence. Now, the causes of domestic violence are many, but in this channel or in this episode, we shall be looking at it gradually. We'll be treating 10 different causes of domestic violence. We will take in few today, and we will now graduate and continue in the next episode. But before I proceed, it is important to note that there is no justification for domestic abuses except done in self-defense to save your life in a situation which must be proved beyond reasonable doubt. So there is no reason whatsoever that justify domestic violence on the part of the abuser. Your action is not justified except on one ground, and that ground is if that abuse is done in self-defense to save your life from a particular situation, still that your action has to be proved beyond reasonable doubt that you actually took that action to save your life. That means you are on the verge of losing your life, or your life was in danger. But the point I'm trying to make here, my audience, there is no justification for any abuse of domestic what? Violence. That's the point I want you to take home and put it behind and hold onto it strongly. No justification for domestic abuse. Now, number one causes of domestic violence that we're going to look at in this episode is mental problem. Mental problem. Mental problem can come in various degrees and in levels. And sometimes when people have mental disorder, you may not know, except when that person is properly diagnosed by a physician. But mental problem, a person or anyone, mostly women, who are victims of severe physical abuse are likely to suffer from mental illness, such as anxiety, depression, alcoholism, drug dependency, antisocial personality disorder, and otherwise. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that mental problem is one of the causes of domestic violence, which also results from what is called severe physical abuse. When you are living with your partner and gradually issues begin to rise and there is this outbreak of incidents and recurring incidents, quarreling, nagging and all that, hot arguments and all that, and begin to come into the house, you see, one of the partner will become what? Affected. Then you will now begin to observe what is called problem that generating from the upstairs. And some of those problems could be what is called the physical abuse, can become what is called anxiety, depression, alcoholism, then take to drug dependency in order to, thinking. Sometimes in some part of the world, they now say, in fact, I am drinking so that I drink away my sorrow, so that I can forget my sorrow. So some just retire, most of the men, they will retire to a beer parlor where they will get topsy and, before they got knocked down, and they go home like that, so that they just lep off and tomorrow morning they are off to work. So when that problem degenerated to a state of mental disorder, it results to very grievous violence in the house or in a relationship. So your mental state is a thing that you must check from time to time to avoid domestic violence. Because if your mental state, which is orchestrated, or mental disorder which is orchestrated by severe physical abuses, incessant severe physical abuses in a relationship or between you and your partner, if not put under check, that mental disorder will create a very long-term problem in that relationship, and the violence it will cause cannot be measured. So most time when you see violent issues or cases reported of a family or of a partner one thing we should look at, you should examine the mental state of the concerned person. In other words, we must avoid domestic violence or check domestic violence by making sure that we do not engage in incessant and recurring nagging that we develop or degenerate to what is called anxiety, depression, and alcoholism and drug dependency, to avoid mental disorder that can really bring about current and recurring violence in your relationship. Number 2 that we shall be talking about, poverty and unemployment. Poverty and unemployment is another factor that can cause domestic violence. Yes. People who are in a dire need of financial strait are more prone to violence. People who are in dire need of financial strait, they are more prone to violence. So if you look at it very well, if the financial capacity of a person or of a partner is not as strong as it ought to be, you see, it will generate problem between the parties. It will bring about serious problem between the parties. When a spouse is not employed, it doesn't have anything doing, is idle, sitting at home all day, then one of the partner is going out to get this done, to make sure that food is placed on the table. Assuredly, there will be violence. Yes, there will be violence. So domestic violence could be caused or could come to place in our relationship if our life, our financial state is not in shape, in good order to take care of or manage our daily needs, or to meet our ends means, then it will now become a problem between the two parties, and it will degenerate to what is called domestic violence. So poverty and unemployment. When you are not employed, then you have not either self-employed or a white-collar job. If you are not in anyone, that means you are not employed, then you can see that you have a problem, because there will be no source of income. And if there's no source of income, you become a parasite. Yes, you become a parasite on the other partner. And when you become a parasite on the other partner, you lose your value. And when you lose your value, then it will begin to grow, and that value will begin to depreciate. It will begin to depreciate to a point that issues will begin to arise. And when these issues begin to arise, they will develop to serious violence that is capable of creating a lot of problem in a home. Then now, I want to let you know, in order to really avoid this, you have to build your financial capacity, find something, get something doing, put your hands something into one business or the other, either self-employed or look for something to do somewhere where you can earn at least something, no matter how small. When you begin to earn something, no matter how small, you will discover that your value will begin to appreciate. That is very, very important. Another point that you should look at, that is number 3, that you should look at in treating what is called causes of domestic violence. before I even go further to all that, you will look at this critically, this issue of poverty and unemployment. When you look at something here that I want to give as an example now, you will discover that to be involved in domestic violence, over 50% of homeless women and children are victims of domestic violence. 50% of homeless women and children are victims of domestic violence, because abused victims, when victims are abused, it can lead mostly to disorganization of this victim. It will make them to be displaced. They become displaced, internally displaced person. So over 50, with data to have over 50% of homeless women and children today are victims of domestic violence. Now, poverty and abuse victim, they go together. They often lack the means of shelter. They lack the means of shelter. They lack the means of escaping a situation from the abusers. And because of their state of finance, they may not have access to legal help. They are poor, not employed. Now they are under someone, and this person who they are under or operating under, they become parasite under that person. At the same time, this same set of people who have been abused, their own abuser make sure they keep them in a state of financial zero financial level. They will make sure their abuser will make sure that they don't even have any means of earning, so that they will perpetually remain under their what? Under their control. Be you a woman, be you a man, whoever you are, you must get yourself engaged in something that brings in something for you, so that you don't lean on somebody in all its totality. You don't lean on somebody. So that's why you see today that when you see displaced person, women and children that are displaced or that are victim of domestic violence, they are already displaced from one place to another. They are homeless because they cannot afford their shelter. They cannot afford their meal. They cannot even afford clothing. So they lack the means of escape from the situation because of their state of finance. They may not, because of that, they will not have access to legal help and may not be able to afford their own housing, like I've said. So abusers of domestic violence often kept their victim in poverty. So abusers of domestic violence often kept their victim in what? In poverty. For example, an abuser of domestic violence can decide to sabotage a job opportunity for their victims. They will sabotage it in order to keep them in perpetual dependency on the abuser. So you can see that poverty and unemployment are major causes of domestic violence. Let me give you another simple example that you must know, that I know you know. Let's talk about a couples, a husband and wife in a home. And let's look at it from both from the both end. Taking it from the man who maybe was employed before and was doing well, for one reason or the other, he loses his job and he became unemployed. And maybe during the time he was employed, he was able to establish his wife to begin to do one petty business or any other. All I know, I'm trying to say now, the picture I'm painting is that he was able to set up the wife. But now, the story is changed now. He no longer works, unemployed. Then the woman that is a wife now is the one now caring for the home. Maybe they want to fuel the car. Honey, please, can you, is there anything there so that we can buy fuel? At the beginning, it may be very, very smooth and fine. But after a long period, when it lasted, then there will be a problem. Gradually, the man will be losing his value as a husband, his value as a man, his value as a father. And when he begins to lose in value as a man, in value as a father, that means things are getting deteriorated. And if care is not taken, that the man bounces back, he becomes a victim under the wife. The wife will begin to abuse the man in many ways. So I don't want to take our time on this. Vis-a-vis the woman. The woman is the type that no employment, no self-employed, nothing, all is you. It depends, is dependency on the man. You see, there will be problem, because when this problem begin, the woman will begin to lose value. Mostly when it is not Christian home. Because if it is Christian home, the Holy Spirit will take control. The scripture will be there, will discipline the partner that is carrying the family. But where Christ is not reigning, it's become a catastrophe, a problem. So that is what I am saying. That what we are saying here is that unemployment and poverty have the capacity to create very grievous domestic violence. But where the both husband and wife are busy contributing their little one, and they are up and doing, and everything is going on. Occasionally this one will assist this one, the other one will assist this one. Fine. Everything will seem to be going well. Number 3. Causes of domestic violence. Hot argument, engaging in hot arguments. Most couples are fond of this. They engage themselves. It could be even Sunday morning. It can delay them and even deprive them from going to church. It can be on Monday morning when both parents are trying to get ready to get to their office. A hot argument will just ensue. And this, nobody want to fall for each other. That's why we say about that. Domestic violence is a calculated pattern of behavior to instill or prevent domestic superiority and surveillance over your partner in a relationship. So when one doesn't want to give in for the other one doesn't want to fall for the other. The man said, I am the head of the home. The woman said, you don't know, I am the mother of the house. I am the housekeeper. Then there is two captains in a boat. Then the stage is set for domestic violence. So engaging in hot argument is a serious factor that cause domestic violence. So to avoid domestic violence, what we need to do as couple or as intended couples, we should avoid hot argument. Anything we want to do or we are discussing that has to do with and it degenerating to argument instead of discussion, then you avoid it. You put it off. The last one I'll be discussing with you for now is education. Educational qualification have a lot to do. How cerebral you are have a lot to do. It can either mind you or make you. We went to the school. So we went through the school, we passed through the school, and we allowed the school to also pass through. But some went to the school and never allowed the school to pass through there. It's a two different ball game. Now, what I'm now saying here is that, for example, education make a huge difference in the rate of domestic violence. A huge difference. For example, the higher you go in education, the higher you go, the higher more awareness you come by. Awareness of awareness. You learn more about increase in awareness in your ability to ward off unwarranted sexual abuses or advances. Either you a man or a woman. The higher you go, you keep on seeing these things. You keep on seeing increase in awareness. They keep on coming, either in form of seminar or in form of learning or in form of one way or the other. So you begin to see that ability to ward off awareness, papers, presentation, table talk, and group discussion, and all that. So you begin to see increase in awareness in your ability to ward off, to put away or to avoid unwarranted sexual advances or abuses. That is, be you male or female. But let me tell you, a person with a moderate education or a moderate education with moderate education qualification, especially the women, are likely to reduce the risk of domestic violence. Yes. For example, somebody who is educated within the level, his level of education within the O level, that is secondary school. So at a level of secondary education, this person, let us take a woman for that matter, you see, he will be able to calm herself and even be more careful of what to do. He will consider him or herself humble. So by so doing, there's this kind of self-control. It could also be in form of fear of inferiority or whatever, inferiority complex or whatever. But we are talking about causes of domestic violence. So, but when you look at these women who are of lower education, or even men who have lower education, they are likely to live a risk-free or a reduced risk of domestic violence. Now, why? Because person, especially women, who are more educationally qualified with experience, are likely to see themselves as equal to the abusers. They don't care. They have that uncare attitude. So they don't even look, they don't even rate because of their level of education, because they have had so many things. So they have that spirit of carefree. They don't put some certain things into consideration because they believe that they have all it takes. And so by so doing, they expose and they become more vulnerable to abuses. Because they believe that they have a means of securing their independence. So there is nothing cause for alarm. They also believe in that when they become a wife, they also believe in that they have everything it takes to become independent. So for that reason, they don't care. They don't care anything to avoid family violence. So we have to look at these two, the two phases that I look at this education as a factor that can cause domestic violence. So what I can say here, and my message to the people here right now, is this to my audience. Try as much as possible, irrespective of who you are, irrespective of your educational qualification, irrespective of your financial status, whether low or high, whether you are the breadwinner or you are a cassava winner in the house. Let us avoid domestic violence, because it is a high time. You know, the rate of domestic violence in Africa globally now is very high. And that is why I came up with this to talk about domestic violence and causes of domestic violence. I will be rounding up this episode here, but I'm sure I will continue to. I will give you 10 different factors that can lead to domestic violence or causes of domestic violence. In case you want to ask questions, send your questions to 080-5466-4703. For your question and immediate answer, send your questions to our hotline 080-5466-4703, and assuredly you will be answered as quick as possible. Thank you for listening to me. I pray with you that as you have listened to these causes and factors that lead to domestic violence, if you are out there and you know some of these factors we have discussed, that actually you are either a victim or an abuser, desist from it. Invite God into your house, invite Christ into your life, and make sure your home is in peace and violence free. Thank you until I come your way again.